Damwon Kia on blue side to start.
My most interesting thing I'm looking at for this draft is where Senna falls right now, because we have seen Noah play quite a bit of Senna. He's very good at it. Ghost is, you know, arguably the best Senna player in the LCK, at least top 3, one of the original Senna players. So you see the respect man already going over to Noah's Ezreal, and
Yep.
you know, next to Prince, he's been probably one of the more consistent players in the bot lane to play that champion right now. So I wonder where Senna will fall, because we're seeing her so much more often this week in particular in the LCK as an option, because Kai'Sa has fallen off so significantly with the Tristana priority that we're seeing as a response. So that's one of the champions I think we really should be looking out for here, because the priority for Senna is so high for both teams, as Nidalee will be actually the choice for Canyon with all these jungle bans, all the top 3 taken away.
Yeah, Nidalee kind of falling in right underneath them nowadays. And we're going to see if they do go for the Senna. I mean, with the Rel hover, maybe we're thinking not to go for that pick, but they are going to lock in the Rel first and foremost.
The Rel lock, you don't necessarily have to grab your AD carry with it, because there are a few ones you can take. But the blind Lee Sin early here for Gideon, it would not be the first time he's played it. We saw him try to get an early tempo advantage and actually was successful against Hano Life, but wasn't able to carry that into the later game. Very greedy pick here, and
it's extremely risky.
Yeah.
But when you're playing against Damwon Kia, why not take the risk, right? Lee Sin is definitely kind of a feast or famine jungler. Maybe he can get some good ganks in the early game and really twist the way that this game starts off. Other than that, might just be totally invisible.
Renekton was left open because, you know, we did see KT heavily target, you know, the champion pool here of Canyon. And when you get the Nidalee pick like this and you don't deny the Renekton, of course Damwon Kia are going to snatch it up. I think it's very tough to pick Senna here if you're considering, you know, the best options being the Thresh. And no, it was just a tease. Yeah, they don't take the Senna here. You know, I was going to say most of the time you see it with the Thresh, which is banned away, but it has been more popular with Tom Kent recently, and even some enchanters on the bottom side. And this would be the most KT thing ever if they pick the Samira and try to go extremely all in on this very old and dated bot duo. I mean, this is going to be extremely tempo-based for KT. They need to get an early lead. I mean, Damwon Kia, as we mentioned in round 2, have never lost when they had a gold lead at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you have a gold lead at 10 minutes with Damwon Kia's comp, then, or with the comp that KT is running, right, you're basically already lost the game at that stage. So this is extremely aggressive for Rolster fans to be watching this this draft unfold. Is probably a little bit unnerving.
Yeah, and they still need to figure some stuff out. Like, what are we blind picking into the mid lane? They don't have to blind pick. They can actually save that counter pick for the mid lane because they know what's going in the top lane. And the other thing is, what do you play into Renekton and Nidalee when it's Khan and Canyon? That's it's the highest ask, I think, as a top laner for Doran here. Thankfully, you know, he has been consistent, but I think even he might succumb to that duo.
Yeah, I wonder where they're going to take this. I mean, the Sion ban is pretty reasonable for Damwon Kia, but you don't really want to be playing Sion. Like, in the vacuum, Sion is one of those stable matchups against the Renekton, but in KT's comp, you want to snowball things. You want to really get ahead early, and if you're trying to play extremely slow-paced, weak-side Sion, there's no functionality in the late game. Like, it just doesn't really work. I'd rather see an Orianna ban here, to be honest, because I think Orianna works extremely well with Rel and Samira and the Lee Sin. You can make sure you can guarantee the kicks. Syndra has similar functionality with her Scatter of the Week, and that's what they'll take away instead. As Gragas would actually be a really nice choice here on the top side. Very safe against the Renekton. You can use your cast to win those trades under turrets sometimes, and then even get counter ganks if Gideon is nearby.
Doran's got a little grin on his face. I kind of hope it gets locked in because I definitely do agree. I think Gragas is probably the safest thing to go for here. I think it might even be even safer than stuff like Sion or Ornn, especially when you consider that Nidalee could just camp the top lane and make your life hell. So, love the Gragas pick, even if Doran was a little bit sheepish about it.
The Zoe pick, it's going to be really nice for a lot of those early skirmishes, but can scale very well in the late game with the Xayah. And the Leona pick here is very safe into the Rel. It's not as good as the Alistar pick, but obviously that was always going to be banned away. as it's the most common response. Final pick here, I mean, I think Orianna is good enough here. If we see something like a Victor, it would make more sense for KT's normal MO, but I think a Victor here would show a fundamental misunderstanding of how this comp is going to have to function. Because if you're going to the late game with this Victor pick, and you're like, oh, I'm going to scale with this, then why did you pick Lee Sin, Samira, and Rel for trying to get that early game control? And for some reason, KT just love their Samira Victor. I'd love to see the stats on that for KT Rolster this round and even in round 1, because they play this duo so often and have such a low success rate with it. And I feel like there's just a really... How are you going to get ganks to happen with Lee Sin in the mid lane? You're just never going to have the ability to get those kill pressures. Like, I mean, come on, KT Rolster, I'm a little bit disappointed with this final pick. I like the rest of the draft. It was otherwise a pretty consistent theme. You could have even had Doran building damage in the top lane just to really snowball the game.
Yeah, and play like a Lucian in the mid lane or something.
Yeah.
Right? Something that can really punish and get a lot of tempo and early leads going. It's a lot of AD, obviously, but maybe, as you mentioned, you get some AP going with the Gragas, and maybe it's enough. And sometimes your damage, you know, the amount of damage that you're putting out and the types of damage that you're putting out, your damage profile is the word I was looking for. Doesn't matter if you get enough of an early tempo lead, but I kind of agree. I think the Victor might just be a little bit of a comfort pick, something that, you know, maybe it fills all the gaps. You're like, oh, well, this is kind of like our way that we have some late game something going on, but, you know, I think you're just kind of reaching for too many straws at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are certainly ways you can control early games in League of Legends right now in our current meta, and then still have backup plans for late game. But this comp is so all in on the early game. Why even play for late?
Yes, especially against the team that has probably the best macro in all of Korea, at least. Damwon Kia, incredibly clean in many different factors, right? When everybody was analyzing their run in Worlds and why they were so good, everybody was talking about the players and how they're just so great, but also their drafting was really smart, and they had a really good read on the meta, and their players could play so many different things within the meta that they had many different combos they could go to. And it's not just that, but it's understanding of the game as a team. And
yeah.
They've been incredibly clean. And they've showcased that in spring as well. You know, they haven't missed a beat with that, as their macro has been better than ever.
Their drafting in this particular game too is very it's very intelligent, and they already had a clear plan from the beginning, from the first Nidalee pick, right? If you're going to target ban jungle champions, you're not going to ban the Nidalee for Canyon. You'd almost rather even ban the Graves if you were going to leave any of the other ones open. So you get the Nidalee, then you know that KT aren't going to prioritize the Renekton, so you get that insanely strong combo. It's just such a good draft here for Damwon Kia, and it doesn't show anything either for playoffs. It's not a sneaky draft. It's not a, aha, you didn't know about this kind of draft. It's a, yeah, well, I mean, these are strong champions, and they have been all year long, and they work very well together, and we're the best team in the league, so just not taking any chances here. And the reason we talk about KT going all in with this draft is if you replace Gideon with almost any other meta champion, we can have conversations about the late game. We can have conversations about how it scales, and you know, we don't have to talk about the Samira pick as an extreme tempo pick. But with this Lee Sin, you just unfortunately don't have that late game power. That was kind of cool.
That was really random.
Just to remind everyone who's in the game and who we're fighting for.
That was a freak.
Oh, it wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't even.
It was actually.
I didn't even realize. I thought it was just Damwon and KT. I didn't even look. Now that you mentioned, I do kind of remember seeing Fly in that little very brief pop-up. Anyway, just a reminder about yesterday, I suppose.
Interesting. It was kind of cool. You're right.
I think a lot of people try to forget about yesterday as Beryl.
That was actually a really nice response from Zeus. He saw the Zenith plate coming out. That's it's a pretty fast ability. It's pretty difficult to respond to that immediately, but he was able to get under the turret and let Beryl take 2 shots.
Yeah, ends up being pretty rough here for the Damwon Kia back, or rather bot duo, as Ghost channeled it back for just a moment. It's only going to be Beryl who goes back, and then looks like we're going to see Ghost stick around, try to grab a little bit more golden experience. Can't both back here, you're going to be at a really nasty spot. Noah took cleanse, by the way. So very all in on making sure he can have a big impact post 6.
Yeah. Wants to make sure he doesn't die to the Leona. That was actually the cheater wave where they were thinking about recalling. I'm kind of curious as to why Ghost didn't actually go for it. Felt like a pretty free spot, but instead they got some vision, which is also something you want to do if you have that big push going on. And that's going to be important against Lee Sin. This is one of those things, you know, a very early game kind of tempo-based jungler. You want to just make sure that he doesn't have an effect on the early game.
Yeah.
Getting that vision down is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could have gotten back.
Whoa, what's going on down here?
No flash now.
Ghost and, or Noah and Zeus, rather. They're actually winning that 2v2 so far. It's been looking pretty good for them, and now Ghost can't go back, but he doesn't have any summoners, as you mentioned.
Yeah, this is a really scary moment for the bottom side of the map. As Doran is also holding his own up here pretty well. We talked about how Grog is pretty stable into this, and KT want to push the issue. Canyon's nearby.
Okay, trying to flash on in for that one. He should get the first blood. Canyon is looking to clean it up, but the spear is gonna miss. But the stun does come in, and now the turret shot will make sure that Noah does go down. So they get the 1 kill, the first blood onto Noah. But look at Showmaker comes in, collects the kill, and it ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of Damwon, although they do miss that entire bottom wave.
They missed the wave, but this is definitely a far superior trade for Damwon Kia. And Khan here in a little bit of danger before we get too into the weeds on this point.
Yeah, you know, he was trying to get as aggressive as possible, but now he's probably just dead. He tries to slice and dice away, but coming on in, the flash will follow from Gideon after the ward hop. So knew what was coming from Khan and is easily able to clean up the kill.
I mean, Gideon has showcased pretty good Lee Sin play in the early game. In that Hanwha Life series, he played very well. You know, we don't doubt his ability, that is for sure. As watching this is just unfortunately another one of those moments where you see KT have this lack of discipline. That was also displayed quite heavily last night in the LEC playoffs, but that's another topic for another time.
True.
And, you know, unfortunately Noah here just gets under turret aggro. He is, I think, just misjudged the range of the turret there, because otherwise might have been able to hit a few more autos and at least trade barrel out, but Leona is so tanky at this stage of the game, and you mentioned mechanically here, this was used so well. He already had the ward dash, gets the first dash, and then has the follow-up flash. So, super well done. The follow there onto Khan. Khan just being a little bit too greedy, as they are just continuing to push the issue.
Yeah, they're just not letting up on a Ghost. That is another kill in the 2v2. Keep in mind, you know, they were going deep for that other one, but that's now 2 kills in a 2v2 scenario here for KT's bottom lane over Damwon Kia's. This is not something you would expect.
And they're going to get the first Drake, so they're going to have tempo advantage here for Drakes, which is really important for this composition. With this pick, there's just no way to contest this. You could see Canyon is trying to vertical here just a little bit to try to catch up because he knows he can't challenge. So he's going to steal some of that farm away, but you know, the whole point of this game is to get Noah into a position to where he has a fast Immortal Shield Bow and he can control some of these objective fights. With this fast Drake, you can then hope to, with level 6 on the Samira, actually completely commit to the Rift Herald. Damwon Kia probably can't fight for that anymore, and if they do, I think KT Rolster will be happy to fight them with the small advantages that they have right now. This is exactly how this comp is designed to work, so far so good here for KT Rolster.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, when we saw the draft, you know, we've seen drafts like this fail in the past, and that's kind of why Korean teams just go for safer or just more themed compositions, but KT certainly have an idea in mind, and maybe this is the way that you get under the skin of Damwon Kia. Maybe you just play even faster than they can imagine. And also getting two-on-2 kills in the bottom lane certainly helps out, as we're going to see another replay of how this even happened.
Yeah, let's see exactly how Zeus engages through here. He just gets on top of Ghost with the crash down, and then the follow-up stun is there from a tracked repel. Just a little bit over positioned there, or over aggressively positioned rather, was Ghost to be able to get hit by the crash down there. Gonna catch this whole wave. And unfortunately, because the Drake was taken so early, there's no advantage that Damwon Kia can really get on the map here. They can't get priority on the Rift Herald or anything like that to try to trade objectives. The timing here works out really well for KT. Now, we said that the comp is working as it's supposed to. Doesn't mean that KT have a massive lead in this game, because they need to continue this advantage further. Like, they need to actually get more of an advantage. They need to take this lead and snowball the game so significantly. If they end up throwing away this Rift Herald fight, for example, or overextending and giving a little bit of gold over to Damwon Kia, this is not a comp that works when you're even. So KT just need to continue to press the advantage.
Yeah, and so far, they have been pretty good about doing that. There has been some really nice vision coverage from seemingly Canyon. You know, he's got a lot of deep control wards in the enemy jungle. Just saw Dove going over to collect the blue buff. Had multiple up on the top side of the map, especially when Gideon was hanging on the bottom side. So he's been able to at least get that going. First Drake went to KT, and even in vision, Gideon very confidently just going to start up this Rift Herald. Doesn't feel like he's in under any threat here.
And you can see this is what I'm talking about. The bot lane rotates up. They have Prio. The timing of this is perfect for KT. I don't think Damwon Kia should even consider a contest here. Level 6 is hit for Noah. This is one of the strongest points for Samira that you're ever going to have.
Showmaker's really trying to press the issue here onto Noah and zone them away. Another spear is going to land on the Gideon, but again, that's just the kill on the Rift Herald, but they also do take down Noah, and it looks like Zeus is going to follow. Remember, he used his flash to take that one, and Damwon are just finding kill after kill here. KT, they get their objective, but it's not clean, and Damwon find all of the scrap.
Yeah, Damwon Kia don't contest the Rift Herald, but they do prevent that rotation of the bottom side in, and KT Rolster just tried to force it. I mean, the whole point of your Samira here is to try to get in a team fight if they do, but if they're just going to try to zone you out, you don't have to keep walking towards the Rift Herald. You can actually just give that up. And they push the issue too far, and yes, KT will get the Rift Herald, and that's a lot of gold, but the value of this exchange is way better for Damwon Kia. I mean, I can't overstate how much better this is for them because they're slowing down that snowball here. For KT Rolster, when you get those kills, you get that extra gold. This is disastrous.
Yeah. This is another game where at 10 minutes, Damwon are going to be ahead, as we're going to see this once again.
Noah, you just leave here, actually. You know, like, he's turning around, they're like crash down into this. Like, why would you do that? You get the Rift Herald and you walk out. And then on the top side of the map, unfortunately, with Showmaker and Barrel rotating over, you know, KT are kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place there. There's no way out. So I suppose that could be one reason you could argue why Noah decided they were going to try to engage there, is to give another out. But well, unfortunately, that's not what you want as KT. Now they're just going to heavy dive here because they need kills. And there you have the Rift Herald here. They're not actually going to commit here.
They're going to stun it. Can they hit the back? Yes, they will. And they smite it down too. 25 gold given over to Damwon as KT gets 0 extra plates from placing that down on the bottom side. Canyon once again in the perfect position. That's the one thing about jungling. You always need to be, you know, a step ahead. You need to be in the right place at the right time. And man, he just always seems to be there. As we got a 1v1 up in the top side, Dominus is going. Doran did use his cask. You can see the sustain of the Gragas. He's going to have to be flashed away from Khan, looking to extend that low mana here for Doran. He's just going to get swiped out one time.
Very well handled here by Khan. And Doran, you know, didn't have flash there, so couldn't actually try to push the issue any further. Had to walk out. That bottom exchange was pretty weird because, I mean, the Rift Herald obviously plays in such a way that, you know, it's going to get caught there because Canyon responds so well. But also, Dove kind of not committing there. He was going to lose a whole wave if he stayed much longer, so he decided to go back mid, but that's going to cost you big. If you're going to make a play like this, you have to hard commit. And this is, again, why I'm not a huge fan of the Victor here. Because if you had lane prio with something like a Lucian, like you mentioned, then this whole situation becomes completely different. But he's like, oh, I got to go back. I'm not going to make too much impact in this game. I'm a Victor. I don't have my items yet. It's a hard time here. As you can see, Damwon Kia have started to catch up and actually have now a pretty massive gold lead. 1,500 in this game.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good for them. Obviously, a lot of that gold is actually in Barrelus 202, but also the top side of the map. CS number here for Ghost is not great after he died twice and lost a bunch of the waves. He was also called up from the bottom side to fight over the Rift Herald, even after Noah and Zeus had rotated. A lot of times you'll see the losing AD carry just kind of sit down there and get the free farm.
Yeah.
Didn't happen in this case, as we're going to see the junglers hitting each other. We got a fight down on the bottom side. They're going to turn it onto Ghost, who does not have his Featherstorm. He gets incredibly low, but he will actually get away.
They know Canyon's here, so they can't push the issue any further. And that's so unfortunate, so close. And this was actually a really nicely played rotation from Gideon. They knew the vision was going to be in the tri-brush there because it cleared their ward away. So he knew he could actually go over the wall and use the Krugs to actually sneak through. But he was spotted by Canyon, and it was a really nice play attempt. And unfortunately, Immortal Shield wasn't done. It was just purchased after that engage. And close but no cigar is actually just not good enough, though, for this composition. You don't win points for almost having the sickest play or the almost successful dive for KT. They're just a few millimeters away from having a really substantial snowball-y game, but those saves are everything for Damwon Kia, you know? And this is a game where Ghost can stabilize. Even though he's significantly behind now, the composition as a whole will allow him to do so the further this game goes on.
They're feeling pretty good about their situation right now. The Mountain Soul here for KT, you know, they were at least able to secure those 2 early Drakes, and they do have a bunch of guys that will be building at least some defensive stats. So if you can get that and maybe snowball some of the Drakes in your favor, you're not out of this yet by any means, but again, Damwon's position still looking pretty good.
If it was an Infernal Drake, you know, KT could actually maybe actually get serious value out of it. And try to push the advantage further, but Doran in trouble.
Yeah, we do have Lucid nearby. That cast is going to be so useful, and Gideon immediately spotted. They're looking to turn it around once again, though. Doran will be able to walk away from that spear, but man, if he got hit by that one, might have been in some trouble, especially with no flash available.
Once again.
Yeah, here we go again. The party never ends. Magnus Storm comes in, and there we go. The Infernal Trigger is immediately stopped. And that's going to be the end of that. Flash comes in, and Ghost and Beryl are angry after the way that early game wins.
I mean, that is probably the... I mean, it sounds crazy to say it in a 15-minute game, but that's probably the nail in the coffin of this composition's tempo advantage right there. That was actually like... That was the moment we'll look back on in the replay of this game and go, well, that's probably when it ended. And, you know, the engage there, too, was basically just utilizing the Leona to get the S rank to actually Inferno trigger, but because she was so close in proximity to them, it's just super easy to hit the stun Solar Flare, which I believe was what actually canceled that Inferno trigger super early on, and that's just the end of it. Like, can't actually push that fight anymore. I have to go back and watch how that was interrupted, but I'm pretty sure that's what did it. And it was just really well handled by Damwon Kia. It was just really patient, and it almost felt like they were like, are you really trying this? Just with how carefully they waited and then perfectly turned that Inferno trigger off.
Definitely called their bluff and was totally fine to sustain themselves against that. We do have the Mountain Drake here in a minute, but we're going to take another look at this fight and how they were able to interrupt the damage from Noah.
So, I mean, Beryl is just ready to tank this, and Noah's getting up his S rank, right, using Beryl, and then Solar Flare and the Senate play together, actually. Just shut it down so carefully, and Ghost is like, okay. Because he wasn't being touched at all. His positioning was good, and they just utilized the Leona to Inferno trigger. Uh-oh.
Oh, he might actually die here with the Everfrost. Yeah, comes in, and over the top, there it is, the last auto. Easy peasy for Showmaker. You get low, and that's going to be the end of you. We do have Flash and Cleanse here for Noah. He's actually looking to turn it around as the Inferno trigger comes in, and the damage is not going to be enough.
Doran teleports.
Doran coming in. That's definitely going to help out here. Doran desperately trying to clean up all the lanes of his team. Somehow Leona, okay, finally does go down.
Oh, that was a good flash.
Pretty close, but then from downtown, Showmaker is going to hit that, but a little bit too far away, at least, and pretty hard to lock down, as now with the flash in his pocket, might be looking for this one, actually misses it. The Canyon just dies immediately. Now it looks like Khan and Showmaker have overstepped their boundaries here, as Khan is going to have to flash the wall with the TP coming in, and that means another Mountain Drake here to the side of KT.
I mean, this is actually really, really, really bad timing for Damwon Kia to mess this engage up and actually to overstep their bounds, as you said. And this is a misunderstanding, I think, of where the damage is for Gideon right now, who has his Core Drinker online. But also, they just didn't really have vision to try to push the issue there. And was very well handled by Gideon again. At this stage in the game, he still knows where his power is going to be. Hits the kick onto Nidalee, and that's enough to instantly blow up Canyon, and you just can't be there anymore. if you don't push the issue there as Damwon Kia, you probably lose the Drake, or at least you have to fight for it in a traditional sense. But if you die there, you know, it's just a free Drake. This is so well handled by Showmaker. It's the max range Paddle Star, has the Everfrost, as you said. It just teleports in one more time for the auto and pieces out.
Dove had Flash, by the way.
Yeah.
Didn't decide to use it at all, even with the Everfrost online and available.
Look at how long Noah can survive with the Mortal Shield Bow. Really does a lot of work. Ghost gets taken out by the cask, and then, you know, Barrel here, very, very stuck. So they trade it back, but then Damwon Kia actually pushed the issue even further. As you see, Gideon has a perfect flash, gets slept, and they feel like, okay, we can win this fight. Gideon slept, but look at where Canyon ends up here. And he ends up getting crashed down once again, which is a guaranteed Q, you know, and he's gonna just dash in and get the kill. You cannot overextend like this if you're Damwon Kia. They lose the flash on the Con and the Drake.
Okay, here we go once again. Khan reading the situation, has a ward down there, but they're still going in. Another body slam will land. And they should have the damage underneath here with the kick. Goes into the wall. He misses the Q. That is the last thing he... Oh, man.
You can't do that. I mean, we were singing his praises, but you have to hit the Q or it just doesn't work.
Oh, boy, and now Ghost left all alone here. They were looking for a dive, but the bluff this time is called by the KT bottom lane, and now we're just all over the place. Noah does get that ultimate down and does have an insane amount of survivability, but it's not going to be enough against 3 people.
Infernal Shield, or Immortal Shield Bow is just one of those moments where you're like, okay, how long does he last there? He's got his collector now, though. And, you know, Damwon Kia, I feel like, have been a little bit sloppy with the lead they've had. KT is still hanging on here by a thread in this game because they've been able to win some of these small skirmishes. And with the Drake advantage that they have, you know, if they do end up getting that Mountain Soul, it's not great for their composition, but it makes their chances of snowballing the game a lot better. I feel like we're past the point of the snowball equation we were talking about, but if they can continue to get picks like this, or if Damwon Kia just continue to overextend and don't, you know, just front to back team fight or try to 5v5 group, then, I mean, there's chances. I mean, that's where, you know, your Lee Sin's gonna get value if it's that Q.
Yeah, I mean, Lee Sin, you know, as this game stands, he's still going to be having fun, at least in this mid-game scenario, as it's just Ghost knowing he has allies near, but he just gets clapped in one go.
Yeah, it's almost as if KT are trying to... I mean, the way that this bottom lane has been played so much is it just feels like this is intentional. I was like, well, I'm going to get some extra gold. Like, I'm going to get my collector as soon as possible. I don't care how much gold they have because our comp just has to snowball and fight early and try to blow people up like this. And then, I mean, in the later part of the game, like, trading like this is terrible, of course, but, I mean, he's up 1,000 gold still, and you're playing for what your win condition is, and it was a really nice reaction to just knowing that Ghost was a little bit out of position there.
Yeah, he was also 2 seconds off of his Featherstorm, which certainly helps a lot. He was trying to have that available for when the fight actually broke out, but maybe Zeus's mind is just that finely tuned that he knew exactly when that would be available. Doran's having some fun up here in the top side. He's even down a level. He's still putting on the pressure.
Doran has teleport and Khan does not. So this is going to be potentially really important for this upcoming Mountain Soul fight that we're actually having very early on in the game because KT has, you know, such early Drake control and pushed the issue on every spawn. I mean, it's happening 3:25 minutes here. Doran can back. They have vision control, and that's why Damwon Kia rotated over here so early, just to make sure they had the better setup. And they are going to have the first quote-unquote front-to-back team fight of the game because Khan walks through. And KT might just have to let this one go, which is really unfortunate, but I don't think you really have much of a choice here. I mean, you have a Drake advantage, so it doesn't feel terrible to give one mountain, but they're going to fight for it.
Let's see. This is where you would try to go when Showmaker hops back. Zoe loves this position where you have all this vision control. Zoe and Nidalee, right? The poke comp part of Damwon's composition is coming into full effect, but you see that Doran is kind of just brute forcing his way through all the vision, trying to frontline here for his team, trying to dodge all of these pokes that do come out.
They have so much burst if they actually have a really nice cask. I mean, you see the Inferno trigger go off and it's lights out.
Oh boy. Here we go. That's going to force the flash. That's the real one out of Showmaker. And that's the thing about Zoe. She's sometimes very predictable. And champions like Gragas, like Lee Sin, can have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. She ends up getting away, though, and they do get the Drake for a turret.
This is... KT's really trying to force something here. See that they're just trying to kind of brute force once again right through the Leona, but that's not really going to happen. And Damwon are just like, well, we're not really buying what you're selling right now.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, when everyone's grouped up on Damwon Kia, it's really difficult to actually find those picks. You're so reliant on the Samira coming through and cleaning things up. So if you have a big cask, or you can eliminate Ghost from the fight early and remove a lot of that damage, KT can win these fights. But they have to be kind of forced, as you said, and that's very predictable, really easy for Damwon Kia to read. You're so reliant on Doran's engage here, because at the beginning you were reliant on Gideon picking somebody or kicking somebody out of position. Now it's like, well, it's cast, body slam, that's all you really have, and Damwon Kia could just play around that. There's not really much else to say about how the comp fights. You know, it's Samira, very low range. The Victor is not online yet. Starting to get up there, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, Damwon Kia have a very healthy amount of disengage options, right? They have a okay front line. Their engage is not amazing. They have some pieces, right? The Leona, the Renekton kind of running at you, Trouble Bubble, stuff like that. But if you consider just straight up running away and the Leona throwing out some abilities to disengage the Featherstorm out of the Xayah, you can absorb a lot of the pressure that comes from the engages that KT wants to put on.
You're right. I mean, I think all those things too can also very hard punish KT. You know, if you go in with a kick, then you get stunned by the Renekton, you get Zenith Blade, and it's like there's so many ways to lock down this Lee Sin. If you're Damwon Kia, you could even sleep him, and if he's dead, then you just have 100% control over the fight, and you can even chase very well. Canyon is out for blood.
He's had kind of a quiet game in this one. You know, he was always in the right place at the right time in the early game, which was great to help stop some of the bleeding that was going on in the bottom lane. Wasn't really able to punish the Gragas at all, so Doran's kind of had a free game, and you can see he's very nicely fed in this one. A huge beefcake. Nobody's really going to be able to do damage to that guy.
Yeah, no, that's really good for KT because, you know, he has to be the one who can clear that vision like you were talking about that allows Zoe to just fire with impunity and just non-stop free hit and harass because you don't really have any other way to clear that or move that away. I mean, it's definitely not going to be Zeus, you know, who's getting that vision removed. He's going to have red right now, but for a sweeper.
This is why we loved this Gragas pick, because even we didn't even get to see like the early game aspect of it where it can be relatively survivable if you're just getting absolutely camped up in the top side, but especially because he wasn't camped. It's
yes.
like, okay, now the Renekton doesn't really do anything.
Not only that,
Renekton in team fights almost acts as a worse Gragas in some ways.
But not only that, but he actually got 2 kills in those bot exchanges where he teleported down. So
yeah.
He actually kind of got fed in a weird way, not because of his lane matchup, but because of, you know, the situation on the bottom side of the map for Damwon Kia was so unstable. It still remains to be fairly, you know. I really like the Gale Force here for Ghost in this particular case too, because it's going to make you get an extra dash, so you're going to be able to get out of a lot of these situations where KT are diving you, but you also have the ability to chase and execute targets who are running away. Because again, KT, they kind of come in, use their combos, look for blow up, drop the Inferno trigger, like that's the whole game plan. But then after that, if it doesn't work, or you get stopped halfway through, you just have to walk away, and Gale Force is so good at chasing down and killing those targets who are trying to back off. Especially the Victor, because Dove's in this awkward case where he just really doesn't fit the comp at this stage. He does a lot of damage, and he will do more as the game goes on, but he's not survivable. And while KT walk forward, and then if it fails, they have to walk away, he's going to be the one who's left behind so many of those times.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a decent front line where he's kind of just going to be firing over the top, hopefully. If he's trying to front line and look for extended damage, he's probably going to get himself into a lot of trouble, especially against all of the poke that Damwon Kia do have, as we have this Mountain Drake spawning once again, as that's going to be the solar flare they used on Noah, and the flash does come in, but he's totally fine on the backside. Really great disengage from KT, and now Khan's kind of left all alone. You see that Showmaker's not even able to get any damage down. And now KT say, let's just try to take this dragon here. I think they're in a pretty good spot. The Victor can kind of zone them away at this point in time. And the poke from Damwon is not great. They find the Rel. That's a really nice cast. They're trying to get into the pit now, but it's going to go the way of the Lee Sin. He gets the swipe down, and Canyon dies. And KT actually have a really great chance now to take a bunch of the map here.
Oh, man, I think this could turn into a Baron play very, very easily. It's so difficult to get out. Look at the teleport.
The teleport is perfect, and I don't even know if Damwon saw it. They're going to force that flash out of Showmaker. At least he will live. But that is not enough. KT are dominating Damwon here in this big game fight.
They've taken a gold lead here again. They have a Mountain Soul, which is going to be pretty significant for Doran, who seems unkillable in this game with the items he's now got on lock. Random's even finished before that last fight. And, you know, he's in such a position to where if KT were caught, like they were actually split up. 3 members, we'll watch this fight again, 3 members of KT are actually caught on the bottom side. Doran's trying to clear this wave in middle. He's a little bit greedy, but this is essentially a 3v3 fight because the damage isn't there for Damwon Kia, so they could survive long enough here. Really nice crash down there and track repel from Zeus to Peel. And then Doran is just like, I'm here by myself, you guys can't kill me. And he's setting up for the Victor to do damage on this turn, like you mentioned. And then watch Gideon's position on the Drake as well as the fight goes on. There's just enough poke damage here, and also the fear, the threat of that Gragas cask, because he can cask at any moment and cut somebody off. You just can't get close until it's too late. Gideon smites very late because he almost didn't even need it to guarantee the Drake, and everybody is super zoned out here. This game is all about Doran's tankiness and his ability to cut people off. That's the power of this composition that we didn't think it would necessarily have at this stage of the game, is working out so well because he's so fed and he's such a big threat. So we watch this chase, and Doran does not actually get the flanking body slam there with this teleport, but it was cool to watch the attempt.
Yeah, got the flash out of Showmaker at least. And Showmaker, you see that Majai's just got 5 stacks, and you're kind of just crying because he's not getting anything off the back of this. He's survived at least, you know, you can say that, but your team is not surviving, that is for sure. Just bleeding turrets here. The bottom one is going to go down. They're going to send Doran back to take care of the top wave, which was nicely pushed by Khan.
Yeah, they have, you know, another problem in this composition is, you know, the fact that Lee Sin is actually somewhat survivable himself at this stage. He's got Sterox, so when he does dash in, gets a few autos off, he's going to get that shield. Mention his own shield that he has. And there's a little bit of heal deny coming through. The chainsaw's done for Khan. Just finished that right now. They have a Morellonomicon for Showmaker, but proccing that as a Zoe is not always very easy to do. It's not easy to pull that off in a wide team fight. A lot of that is going to be on Khan. But like I was mentioning, you know, if you step too far forward when the team is cut in half like that with Doran, you just get cast in and blown up. The damage output is definitely real for KT.
Yeah, the Nidalee here for Canyon has been kind of underwhelming. You know, his positioning was good, but in those team fights, like you mentioned, he got cast in there, and he was forced to use his Zhonya's so early on, couldn't even smite. It's like, well, what is the Nidalee doing exactly? If you're kind of on even footing here, you're throwing spears into the tankiest Gragas of all time. Like, not really enjoying his life right now. That is for sure.
I mean, if KT can actually win this game and win this series, and they get playoffs, I mean, well deserved. What a turnaround from this team in round 2. It's not over yet, but I think everyone is shocked with what we are watching. I mean, they are making a 32-minute Lee Sin comp look viable, you know? Like, they're making this comp look really good because of how they're executing it.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff happened in the early game that certainly helped out as well, right? Like the 2v2 kills down on the bottom side. Gideon even finding the kill up on the top side removed so much pressure on the map that this, you know, even the Nidalee Renekton could have been putting on, and Ghost got so far behind that now we're just in a position where the later game scaling carries on the side of KT are actually a much bigger threat at this point in time, right? Like,
yeah.
We've seen Zoes do crazy things, but a lot of the time they can't do it all by themselves. So even though Showmaker was the one guy who kind of got through unscathed, it's like, well, good luck now. You know, he sold his Magi's, picked up a Void Staff. He knows that this is crunch time.
Yeah.
And he's got to have a really great team fight. Otherwise, I think his team is just going to lose.
The problem is that they have so much poke, but now the Mountain Soul defeats all of that poke too, right?
Yeah.
Like, the Renekton just doesn't have almost any functionality in this game. Especially because Gideon, like...
Exactly.
Gideon is not actually going in at the beginning of the fight anymore. It's not like you're going... It's not like you're looking at a Renekton and a Leona being like, Gideon can never come in anymore. He doesn't want to. He's actually just going to come on anyone who tries to cross a line or anyone who gets cast in by Doran, who's just going to sit at the front and always has the threat of hitting a cast because he's practically immortal with all the tanky items he has right now.
All
And
right,
the Thorn Mail completed now.
What are you buying here?
Let's see.
Probably just GA.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. I mean, he has the BF and...
There it
Told
is.
by the observers. Okay, there it is.
Waiting for 850. Picks it up. And
I mean, that makes
the timing is so good. It's perfect, actually.
That makes this this fight even more difficult for Damwon Kia. But to be fair, if Noah dies, you know, and he's going to maybe potentially get value out of a GA, like, that means that Damwon Kia probably won the fight. But it's still, I mean, in those fringe cases, it is going to be a massive item for them. Look at where Doran is going to be in this fight.
That's a lot of damage. Gideon, he's so tanky, right? The Mountain Soul is helping out so much. You can see that KT very confidently start this up. They know they have so much sustainability with this comp right now. Gideon getting into the pit. Look at Doran. He's literally the bouncer to the pit. Nobody can come in here except, well, I guess Beryl is going to try.
That's why you can't.
He's just going to die.
That's why you can't engage in. You can't do it. Doran's got to cast. You're going to get punished. The damage output is too intense if one person gets locked down like that.
Yeah.
Look at Khan now trying to do something, anything.
Khan gets in, and Noah actually does have his GA popped here. They're desperately trying to get that poke damage onto him, but they can't quite do it as Ghost now is just going to die to Dove. Yes, he pulls it back right at the right time, but it doesn't matter because his Elder now is free, and KT might just push and win anyway.
I mean, the game is theirs. It's a choose your own adventure. Baron spawns in 2 seconds.
Just take the objectives.
Take the objectives because, look, the inhibitor turrets are all up. You don't have a wave pushing in right now, so they can take the Elder Drake first and then just rotate over to Baron. The death timers here is still extremely long for Damwon Kia, and Showmaker, he's trying to maybe steal this away with a Q. Zeus says no, absolutely not allowed.
Seen that.
We saw that
before.
yesterday.
Yeah.
On a Baron, of course, but now they just go over to the Baron pit, speaking of which, and Damwon Kia just cannot fight against this insanely tanky Doran anymore. And if anyone comes close, everything falls apart. And Zoe feels so bad in comps like this where you fall too far behind or your opponent has, you know, something like a Mountain Soul or a really strong front line, because she's just so low value in the team fights, even if she's hitting every paddle star.
Yeah.
Like, look at this fight for Showmaker. He's zoned out. And as soon as Beryl comes through, the damage is just so high. Look at all the shields. No one's even really getting touched here on KT Rolster's side. Look at Showmaker try to Everfrost and flash away. As Noah comes through looking for that Infernal trigger, and he knows that he has Guardian Angel, so it doesn't matter if he dies because the rest of the team just rotates over during his respawn animation. And yeah, Damwon Kia deny the Drake, or rather the Drake, the Elder, for just a few seconds, but it doesn't matter. They're not able to get any picks. Now it's Baron buff plus Elder buff. And KT, unfortunately their comp doesn't have like this insane pushing power to where you're like, oh, they just walk down mid now. It is a little bit awkward for them. But it's a lot of objectives denied from Damwon Kia. And you could see that it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier this game for Damwon Kia to actually win these fights.
No, KT have built Exodia, right? This is, it's not after 40 minutes, but it's still Baron and Elder. And I think if you're KT, you can kind of just walk it down. It seems like they really want to get into the bottom lane for some reason. I'm not sure why it's taking them so long to just group up and get a push going.
They have, you know, a very low range, kind of awkward clear 80 carry in the Samira. I mean, Dove has pretty nice wave clear. That's why he's going to be left alone to push the bottom side. But it's hard to just, you know, push through and look for fights until your minions crash the turret.
There's not even that much wave clear on the side of Damwon. Just group up, push the minions, and take the turrets.
They're going to do it.
It's like KT forgot how to win. Like, come on, guys. You know how to do it.
Sure, and they are doing it. They're going to get the mid inhibitor. Now they're going to push bottom side. And once the minions crash in, I mean, that's when the walls start collapsing in for Damwon Kia. Damwon have one more defensive opportunity to win this game, but it is going to be nigh impossible at this stage. Look at all the minions now. The Baron buff still active here, and Damwon Kia looking for one hard engage.
Oh boy, Jordan's going for it. Went for the big play, did a lot of damage, but now Barrel's just gonna get caught out. You can see he pretty much does nothing. And now they're trying to get on top of Ghost. He immediately is just gonna die, and that's going to be this game. Going over to KT, they will take down Damwon in game number 1 of this series, something I never thought that I would say in this game.
I mean, nobody thought, when we saw the schedule for KT Rolster, we looked at it and we said, nobody believes in this team. You know,